Today I'm going to be updating you guys on my top 5 favorite Samsung smartphones to buy. I've got a phone here for pretty much everybody for any budget, so let's go ahead and get started here. The Samsung Galaxy S22 is really one of my favorite pickups this year. I picked it up refurbished, renewed for 400 bucks. I'll have the link down below. And I've just been extremely impressed with this device. I absolutely love the size of the device and how comfortable it is. And Samsung went back to premium materials on the back of the phone, so it just overall feels just like an excellent premium device here. So it is a dynamic AMOLED display. It is 6.1 inches. So like I said, somewhat compact, 120 hertz HDR10 plus. It gets up to 1300 nits peak brightness. So very bright display. It's 1080p. 425 for the PPI. Just a beautiful display here with the punch hole in the middle, very slim bezels on here as well, and it overall just has a really nice premium feel to it. Also, you are running the Android 12 with One UI, and then you have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, which is really the main selling point at this price. For 400 bucks, it's sort of competing with other mid-range phones, and it just blows those phones out of the water as far as what you're getting for power. So gaming performance on here is top notch. You can pretty much play any game you want at high settings, and it just goes through it like a blast. It does have 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM on here, so multitasking and performance in general is going to be very good. The stereo speakers on here sound excellent, so I had no issues with that. And you also have on here all the little bells and whistles like NFC, fingerprint scanner under the display works really well, face unlock, Samsung desktop support, and wireless DeX. You just have pretty much everything that you would find on most flagships these days. This phone also has a phenomenal camera setup, and that was one of the things I was really impressed with. If you guys check out my camera comparisons, it has a 50 megapixel standard, a 10 megapixel telephoto lens that does 3x, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It also shoots in 8K 24 with a 10 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60. You guys can see the shots for yourself. Absolutely beautiful photos in terms of color sign. Just gives you really bright, vibrant, lively shots, and just great detail overall. All the lenses are very nice, very close to the main lens, so you're just getting good quality out of all these lenses, and video is excellent as well too. Battery life is also pretty good on this phone. I'm actually able to get around 6 hours of screen on time, and this phone has really great standby time as well too, with 3700 milliamp battery, 25 watt fast charging, which is decent, and you have wireless and reverse wireless charging. So for 400 bucks, this is really a steal. All right guys, next is going to be the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra here. I'm actually using this phone as my daily driver right now. Absolutely love it. There are some things I don't like about it, which I will mention, but in general, it's an excellent phone. I think the only thing is that it's just big and boxy, and I wish they made a smaller version of this phone, like they did with the Note 10 series. They had a smaller one and a big one. But the experience has been really great with this phone. The dynamic AMOLED display is 6.8 inches, 120 hertz, HDR10 plus, 1750 nits peak brightness. It's just a really bright display outdoors, really vibrant, beautiful to look at, really slim bezels, full 1440p, 500 for the PPI. Just a beautiful display to watch content on. Again, just an excellent experience when it comes to that. The hardware on here has grown on me. It's really nice looking. A lot of people didn't like it, but like I say, it's grown on me. You do have the stylus, built-in stylus on here this year, and that works great. So anybody in the digital artwork, or you just want to navigate with the stylus, it does an excellent job at that. It's IP68, dust and water resistant. Of course, we have Android with the upcoming One UI 5 is going to be on here soon with a ton of more features. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 on this phone is excellent. I haven't had any issues performance wise. I haven't had the phone heating up or anything like that, even though I'm not a huge gamer, but just daily performance has been just super fast on this phone. The base model is 128 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM, which is the one I have. If you take a lot of pictures and video, you will fill it up, so do note that you might want to get the 256 version. And also the speakers are actually, they're meh compared to other smartphones that I've been testing. The speakers are fine, but definitely Samsung's not their best speakers that they've had, especially compared to their previous flagships. It does have NFC, fingerprint scanner, all the little bells and whistles, Samsung desktop support. The main selling point with this phone is the crazy camera setup. So honestly, if you're into zoom photography, this is probably one of the best phones that you can get right now. It has 108 megapixel standard, so extremely detailed shots. 10 megapixel periscope telephoto does 10x, and then a 10 megapixel telephoto does 3x, and then you also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 8K 24 with a 40 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. Photos on here are absolutely beautiful. It's my second favorite phone to take pictures on besides the Pixel, because it just gives you really vibrant shots. I don't have to do a lot of image editing with this phone. It's something that I really like, because the image processing comes out exactly how I would want it to look in most cases. Also, battery life is pretty good on this phone. Mine's lasts for about a day. I get 6 hours of screen on time pretty easily. You do have 5,000 milliamp battery, 45-watt charging, wireless charging, and reverse wireless charging. Everything on here has been a great experience since I bought it. I had it day one, and I've been using it ever since. It's just an excellent experience. Alright, next is the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus. This phone has held up so well, and it's just getting cheaper and cheaper. And yeah, it just feels so awesome for a older flagship. So I think the design on here is absolutely beautiful. It's one of my favorite designs of all time. Yeah, it just feels very modern still. Even for today, it's got a 6.8-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's 1440p, 498 for the PPI. It's still a beautiful display. Really, all it's missing is like any type of high refresh rate, because it still looks extremely modern compared to even the S22 Ultra or even the new iPhones or whatever. It's still a top-notch display. Like I said, hardware, premium quality on here, IP68. You have the built-in S Pen. So if you want an S Pen for cheap, I would definitely go for one of these phones. This phone is still shockingly impressive when it comes to performance. The Snapdragon 855 chip is no joke. You guys saw my comparison even against the A16. Opens applications fast. Just general performance is fast. Gaming performance, I have a gaming test, check that out. Excellent. It does a crazy good job for such an older phone. And on top of that, you have SD card support, 256 gigs of internal storage on the base model, and 12 gigs of RAM. So that's just awesome. So you get all that storage and for cheap, and just so much performance. So you guys see why I like this phone so much. Speaker quality excellent on this guy as well. Top-notch speakers, NFC, a fingerprint scanner on the display, fast. All bells and whistles are still here. Desktop support, reverse wireless charging, all of that. The only thing with this phone is that Android 12 was its last update. It's only getting security patches. It'll get security patches for the next 3 years. Also, this phone does have pretty good camera setup. I compared it to the 14, and it did a pretty good job. A 12 megapixel standard, a 12 megapixel telephoto, and then a 16 megapixel ultra wide. Shoots in 4K 60 on the front and back with a 10 megapixel selfie. It does a pretty good job, especially in good lighting. It does a phenomenal job. I don't think the cameras suck at all. I think they, like I said, do a very good job, and honestly, I think it beats a lot of mid-rangers as well. Alright, so let's talk about the battery life. This is another phone where battery life is pretty much still pretty good on here. It's 4300 milliamp battery, 45-watt charging with wireless and reverse wireless charging. Easily can get around 6 hours of screen on time with this phone as well. So in general, if you're looking for a cheap phone with a S Pen that's going to give you good performance, this is easily a great recommendation. Alright, next is the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. This is the sort of last note with SD card support, and this phone is still fairly modern. You can get it for a really good price. The price is coming down on this phone every year, and yeah, I really do like the display on here as well too. It's actually massive display at 6.9 inches, and it actually has 120 hertz, but you can only use it at 1080p. It's HDR10 plus. It's 1440p, 496 for the PPI. It's a beautiful, like I said, massive display. So if you really like big displays, you'll love this phone. The hardware, I think, still looks really good on here as well. And then you also have, again, the built-in S Pen. So digital artists, people who just want to navigate with a pen, you'll really like this. And this one actually gets Android 13 as well too, which is really nice. So this phone does have the Snapdragon 865. I did a gaming test. It still flies through games. and just general performance is going to be excellent on this device as well too. This one actually, like I said, has SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage, 12 gigs of RAM on here. So you have plenty of storage, plenty of power on this phone. I think one of the big selling points with this phone is that it still has a crazy good camera system. So it's got the same 108 megapixel standard that you would find on like a S22 as far as resolution, 12 megapixel periscope telephoto, that's 50x hybrid zoom, 12 megapixel ultra wide, it can shoot in 8K. You also have 10 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60. It's going to give you some beautiful shots on here, just top-notch quality shots. I have a comparison with the S22 Ultra. You guys can see how kind of close they are. That phone does do better zoom, but this is still an impressive camera. Also, this phone has excellent, super loud speakers on here. Great as far as software support. All the bells and whistles are here with under the display fingerprint sensor, Samsung desktop support. All the bells and whistles still here. It also has on here fairly good battery life as well too. We have 4500 milliamp battery, 25 watt charging, wireless charging, and reverse wireless charging as well. So you get again around 6 hours of screen on time with this phone. And yeah, everything is just awesome on here. Fingerprint scanner super fast. I have zero complaints with this phone at this price point. It's just an amazing buy. Alright guys, the last phone on the list is the Galaxy S10 Plus, and honestly you can go with any of the S10 series phones. They all do a phenomenal job. This phone is super cheap. You can find it for like 200 bucks these days, and it's really a great phone for anybody who still wants like the headphone jack and stuff like that. This is an awesome phone for that. Still has very nice premium design. It also is IP68 dust and water resistant. It has a 6.4 inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's HDR10 plus, and it is 1440p. 522 for the PPI. Again, actually it's still a really nice, vibrant, beautiful display, and like I said, super high resolution as well too. This phone last update was Android 12, and it's currently getting security patches. Snapdragon 855. This phone is blazing fast when it comes to gaming performance. I do have a full gaming test if you guys want to check that out. This phone has micro SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage, 8 gigs of RAM. You also have really nice sounding stereo speakers, and like I said, for those headphone jack lovers, this does have a headphone jack. You also have NFC on board under the display fingerprint sensor. It's super fast as well too. And then you also have on here pretty good cameras. It's a 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel telephoto, 16 megapixel ultra wide. It's pretty much on par with the Note 10 Plus. It shoots in 4K 60 on the front and back. And then you actually have a 10 megapixel selfie cam and then an 8 megapixel depth sensor up there as well too. So that dual camera setup is very nice to have. And overall images look pretty good on the S10 Plus. Battery life is also pretty good on this phone. You have a 4100 milliamp battery, 15 watt charging, and then you also have wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. So it's one of the more complete older flagship phones. It has everything: SD card support, headphone jack, great display, powerful chip. So it's really more complete choice on the list for people who really want that. So be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.